Check, check. Am I audible, everyone? Hello? Suara saya
Iya.
jelas? Okay. So, are you ready, everyone? Yeah,
Yes,
now
ma'am.
please turn on the camera. We are going to start this guest lecture, everyone. Please open the camera. Hello, everyone. All right. So, hello, Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra. Are you there?
Yes, hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Mrs. Desi,
Yeah, good
and
morning.
also everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right.
Alright, so I would like to open this class first ya. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Yeah, good morning everyone. I hope that now you are in a good condition, in a good health, yeah. And today we are going to have a guest lecture everyone, especially in English for Young Learners class today. And there will be our guest here, Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra, MPD. And he is from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. So please welcome Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra. Give applause, everyone.
Please.
Yeah. All right. So in this event, especially, I would like to invite Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra to present or to share the material, especially about theories of learning development for English for Young Learners class. And I believe that he is really expertise, yeah, in this kind of material since he is lecturing at PGSD, yeah, Dr. Erwin. PGSD in UPI. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
okay. All right. So, everyone now, please be ready and pay attention to Dr. Enver Rahayu Saputra. And after his presentation for about 40 minutes, yeah, perhaps. Oh, for about 35 minutes, then I will open question and answer session. Yeah. All right. So now time is your Dr. Erwin.
All right. Am I audible? Can you listen to my voice, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good morning, everyone. And first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the head of English Education Say Program, Mrs. Desi Wijayanti, and also to all students of the program joining this session today. I hope our discussions will be insightful, engaging, and also beneficial for all of us. Let me share my screen first. And as mentioned by Mrs. Desi, today I'm going to share with you related to um, learning development theories or child learning development theories especially. And let me introduce myself first. My name is Erwin Rai Saputra. I am from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And in UPI, we have several campuses, several regional campuses, and I belong to Tasikmalaya campus. And I teach in elementary school teacher educations or PGSD, and I teach English for young learners or in detail. The name of the course is different from so-called TEYL and so on and so forth, but it deals with how to teach English to young learners, especially in elementary school. And I would like to a little bit promote my recent publication. This is my recent publications related to English, teaching English to young learners. Even though this is written in, those are written in Bahasa Indonesia, because my students uh, are not from English education department. They are from elementary school teacher education. So I wrote a book, and I will share the book at the end, because my presentations today is based on my book written in 2025, especially in unit number 2, if not mistaken. It was from unit number 2, related to theories of learning, theories of development, and so on and so forth. And to begin with, we will first look at how children develop their thinking process, because in these presentations, yeah, we will explore several influential theories from scholars such as John Piaget, Stephen Krashen, Lev Vygotsky, and Howard Gardner. And each theory help us understand different aspects of how children acquire language and knowledge. And let's start from the cognitive development theory from Piaget. So what is cognitive development? To understand how children learn, we must first understand cognitive development, which refers to how children think, understand information, and interpret the world around them. And John Piaget uh, explains that children are not passive learners. Instead, they actively construct knowledge through interactions with their environment. And this process happens through two main mechanisms. The first is assimilations, where children incorporate new informations into what already known, into what they already know. And the second one is accommodations, where they adjust their thinking to fit new experiences. I think these topics or these theories have been discussed in other subjects in your department, but specifically, I would like to contextualize it into TEYL. And through continuous interactions between the two processes, children gradually develop more complex ways of thinking. And after understanding how cognitive development works in general, Piaget also explains that children pass through several development stages. The first stage is sensory motor stage, which occurs from the birth about until 2 years old. And at this stage, children learn primarily through sensory experiences and physical movement. And for example, they explore objects by touching, seeing, or hearing them. And one important milestone in this stage is object permanence, when children realize that object still exists even when they cannot see them. And because learning is sensory and physical, suitable learning materials include toys that produce sound, texture books, puppets, or interactive songs become suitable for the learning media or instructional media for this stage. And as children grow older, they move into the pre-operational stage, pre-operational period, which usually occurs between 2 until 7 years old. At this stage, children begin to develop symbolic thinking imagination, and they enjoy some activities such as storytelling, pretend play, and role-playing activities. However, their thinking is still not fully logical, because they are still children, especially in uh, early childhood education sector. So therefore, teachers can use learning media such as flashcards, picture books, puzzles, role play, as and other educational videos to support the learning activities. And as children continue developing, their thinking gradually becomes more logical and structured. This comes into the next stage, which is called concrete operational stage, uh, usually between 7 until 13 years old. And at this stage, children begin to think more logically. They can understand cause and effect relationship and also classify objects based on different categories. However, their thinking still depends on real and concrete objects. For that reason, as a teacher, we can use manipulative or some media such as blogs, manipulatives, or real object, realia, games, and also simple experiments that can support their learning activities. Eventually, learners reach the formal operational stage, which begins around adolescence, starting from 13 years old. And at this stage, individuals develop the ability to think abstractly and reason hypothetically. Activities such as debates, discussions, research projects, and problem solving could be more appropriate for this stage. While cognitive development explains how children think, another factor that strongly influences language learning is emotion. That's why we discuss about the affective domain of the emotions as the emotional gatekeeper from Stephen Krashen's. Because beside cognitive ability, emotional conditions also influence how well children learn languages. Stephen Krashen's highlights this idea through the concept of affective filters or affective domains, which refers to the emotional factors such as anxiety, motivations, and self-confidence. And these emotional conditions can either support or hinder the language learning. When students feels comfortable and motivated, they tend to absorb language input more easily. Uh, However, if students feel anxious or pressure during the learning activities, the learning becomes more difficult for them. And this idea leads to the Krashen's well-known concept called affective filter, the filter inside of the emotions, the affective. Krashen's describes the affective filter as an invisible barrier that influences language acquisitions. And if learners feel stressed, anxious, or afraid of making mistakes, for example, these filters become higher and blocks language input from being processed effectively. And another important idea in this concept is the silent period. At the early stages of learning language, children often understand more than they can speak. So during this stage, forcing children to speak may increase anxiety. Instead, teachers should allow them to listen, to observe, and gradually build their confidence. And this concept also related to the motivations because children's motivations in language learning, especially English, is usually intrinsic. They enjoy songs, games, and social interactions rather than focusing on the long-term goals. While emotions affect learning, interactions with others also plays an important role in language development. That's why we discuss about the theory proposed by Lev Vygotsky. Um, Lev Vygotsky, ZPD, it's a well-known theory of the development of learning. According to Vygotsky, learning happens through social interactions. Language develops when children communicate with teachers, peers, and other people in their environment. Or we can say that learning is not only an individual process, but also social process. There should be some social activities, interactions between students, the teachers, or peers, or adults. And through communications and collaborations, children gradually develop their language abilities. And this is called zone proximal development, the well-known theory from Vygotsky. And what's ZPD? Have you ever heard about ZPD in other subjects, guys?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. So I think this is something new. But if I'm not mistaken, if you learn about
Perkembangan peserta didik ya.
ya mata
Perkembangan
kuliah
sesuai di
seperti
subjek
pengembangan kurikulum apa
psikologi
perkembangan peserta
pendidikan.
didik ataupun something related to psychological learning, psikologi pembelajaran, psikologi pembelajaran, psikologi pendidikan atau pengantar pendidikan misalkan ya sebagai mata kuliah umum. I, I think the concept are learned through that subjects. So ZPD, what is ZPD? ZPD or zone proximal development. Zone proximal development refers to the gap between what learners can do independently and what they can accomplish with assistance from the adult, from teachers, from peers, from adults, and from others, maybe parents or teachers. And teachers should design tasks that fall within the zone so that students are challenged, but still capable of completing the tasks with support. And this support is called scaffolding. Scaffolding, yeah. Which may include visual aids, gestures, or simplified explanations or examples, and so on and so forth. And as students become more capable, the support is gradually reduced. That's why scaffolding is not status. It's dynamic. It's based on the conditions of the students. When the students become more capable of doing something without assistance, it is reduced or it is omitted from the learning activities. And another interesting phenomenon in this concept is private speech. When children talk to themselves during learning, this process helps them transform spoken language into into the internal thinking, the private speech. Children often talk to themselves in English while playing, for example. And this is not a nonsense. It is crucial cognitive process where social language is being internalized into inner speech or thought. Atau kalau bisa bilang kayak bahasa hati atau apa ya dia bilang apa di dalam dirinya sendiri gitu. Uh, Besides interactions and support, another crucial element in language learning development is the memory. Memory. So we are going to talk about the role of memory in language learning. So language learning requires learners to remember vocabulary, grammar structure, and also the meanings. So memory allows students to encode, store, and retrieve linguistic informations when they need it for communications. So without memory, it would be impossible to build vocabulary to develop fluency. Because of this, teachers must also consider strategies that strengthen students' memory. There are some strategies for doing this activity. For example, there are several strategies that teachers can do to strengthen the memory in language learning. One method is repetitions, where students encounter words multiple times in different contexts. For example, you can use repetition drilling or substitutions drilling activities. Uh, it is belong to audiolingual method. So you can use that kind of activities to strengthen the memory of the children while learning the language. Another method is using imagery, which connects vocabulary with visual representations. And teachers can also apply spaced repetitions, which means reviewing materials over longer intervals to reduce forgetting. Atau bisa dibilang kayak murojaah kalau misalkan hafalan Quran ya. And additionally, active recall. These activities can be done by several several activities such as quiz games, which can help students retrieve information rather than simplifying rereading the information. Okay, so while memory helps store knowledge, students also differ in the ways they process informations. This leads us to Howard Gardner's theories of multiple intelligence. This is quite important. Gardner argues that intelligence is not a single general ability measured by only IQ tests. Have you ever taken IQ tes IQ? Atau apa sih namanya tuh? Tes IQ ya, kurang lebih seperti itu kan. Tapi multiple intelligence tidak bisa diukur dengan hanya tes IQ saja ya. So instead, people possess different types of intelligence, including linguistics, logical, mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetics, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and also naturalist intelligence. They have several people have different intelligence, so that's why we cannot measure it with one single test, for example IQ test. So this theory reminds teachers that students have diverse strengths and abilities. The students are heterogeneous. They are various in the classroom. Therefore, teaching methods should provide varied learning opportunities for them. Next, we'll examine how children develop language skills themselves. So that's why we talk about language development. Children's language development can be divided into two major areas. The first one is oral or spoken language development, and the second one is written language development or literacy. Ada orsi, spoken language development, or literacy, written language development. So oral language focuses on listening and speaking abilities, while literacy focuses on reading and writing. Both develops gradually and require appropriate support from the teachers. Let's first look at the oral language or orasi development. In early stages, children often go through silent period where they mainly listen and observe the activities. So after that, they encounter early production stages where they begin using short words or memorize phrases and so on and so forth. And later, during the speech emergence stage, students start forming simple sentences and answering basic questions. So this is the development from the reproduction stage or silent period until speech emergence stage or productions in the form of oral language. Although grammatical mistakes are common, this stage is an important step toward developing fluency because they start producing the language orally. So in addition to speaking skills, as I said before, children also develop literacy skills or written language development. So this is the stages that they process in terms of the literacy or written language development. So literacy development begins with emergent literacy, where children start recognizing letters, recognizing symbols, and also understanding that written symbols carry meanings. Each symbols carry meanings. The next is early literacy, when children connect letters with sounds and begin reading simple words. So in the early literacy, they start to understand the relationship between letters and sounds or phonics, and starting reading and writing simple words, and also doing some activities provided by the teachers or by the environment, such as using word card, labeling things or copying sentences and so on and so forth. And finally, fluent literacy. In this stage, learners read and write more smoothly and can express ideas in short paragraphs. Still in short paragraphs because they are still children, not adult that can write an essay or text or longer text. So teachers should create classroom rich in written materials such as books, posters, visual tags, images, and so on and so forth to support the literacy development uh, in elementary school especially or for young learners in general. So language learning is also closely connected to how the brain processes the information. That's why we discuss about the role of the brain in second language acquisitions. Uh, as written here, as we also know before, that the human brain has an extraordinary capacity for language learning because uh, our brain is attached by language acquisition device of LAD from Noam Chomsky's theories. Children brains are highly flexible, which allows them to acquire language quickly because there are some concepts stated such as brain plasticity or broadcast areas and Wernicke's areas in our brain, which produce and receive the language. Yeah, the two brain, as I said before, broadcast area, which is responsible for productions, and Wernicke's area, which is responsible for language comprehensions. And these areas work together during communications. When we communicate with others, both of parts of the brain, Wernicke's and Broca, work together. So because this flexibility, early language exposure can be very beneficial. That's why learning more than one language can strengthen cognitive abilities such as attentions, control, problem solving, and mental flexibility. And this phenomenon is often revert to a bilingual advantages. Bilingual, or even in Indonesia, because we have first language or local languages, bahasa daerahnya gitu ya, and then second language could be bahasa Indonesia, Indonesian language, and English as a foreign language. So we become multilingual, and giving early multilingual to children, multilingual exposure for children can strengthen their cognitive abilities, such as attention control, problem solving, and mental flexibility. And for teachers, this means that providing rich language input and multisensory learning experience can support both language development and broader cognitive growth. Another factor influencing language learning is the relationship between the first language and the second language. Second language, first language, that's different. So for all these theories, we can derive several important implications for our teaching. The first one is that teaching materials should match children's developmental stages. Activities should be active, varied, and often game-based activities to maintain engagement. And also teachers act as facilitators who guide students through the learning experiences rather than simply delivering information to the children. In addition, mistakes should be viewed as natural parts of learning. So we can tolerate some mistakes, but we also need to correct them at once. If the students make a mistakes, we correct them, but still we motivate them to use the correct pattern. There are some also topic related to the factors in language acquisitions, uh, which is neurobiological plasticity, so called critical period hypothesis. This critical period hypothesis, proposed by Eric Lennerberg in 1967, who suggests that childhood is the optimal time for language acquisition. During this period, the brain is highly flexible and capable of absorbing language naturally. And after this period, language learning tends to rely more on conscious study rather than naturalizations. You can compare between children and adults learning a new language or foreign language. The activity is different, then the nature are also different because uh, there is critical period hypothesis because children exposed to second language before puberty have a higher chance of achieving pronunciations similar to native speakers. I will illustrate it later because when children uh, learn language or give exposure to the language, especially English, they will become easy to be a native like, especially their pronunciations and so on and so forth, because there is still limited effect from first language interference because they're still children. So another reason is psychological because children usually have lower anxiety and less afraid of making mistakes, which allows them to practice more freely and enjoy their activity during what is that during the learning. This psychological effect, a low affective filter. They do not possess a great sense of shame or fear of making mistakes like adults do, because as you experience maybe in the past during your childhood, if you make mistake, it doesn't matter. You forget it. But when you grow older, or even during the adolescence, or maybe after puberty, when you do a mistake, you think about the mistakes. You overthink about that mistakes and become become anxious about that mistakes. So because students also learn in different ways, teachers should also consider learning styles. Learning style gaya belajar ya. Have you learned about learning styles in other subjects, for example?
Yes, we learn.
So how many learning styles do you know, Zulfa? Zulfa or Dwi Ulan?
Uh, Audio visual, like listening and something like that.
All right, thank you for the answer. So if students have different preferences, how they process and understand informations. But before talking about that learning style, there is also latest theories from the critical period hypothesis into sensitive periods. This is modern perspective of the critical period hypothesis or CPH, which discuss about some ranges of learning the language. For example, phonological advantage around age 6 until 8. So if you want to pronounce the words or pronounce the language um, like a native, you need to learn from 6 until 8 years old. Start learning the language, especially English. And there's no limitations for syntax learning because it can be studied um, structurally, so it may extend to adolescence. In terms of the vocabulary itself, it can be acquired throughout the life. So there is no limitations in terms of the vocabulary. But for the phonology, advantage. Based on sensitive period, children or people can have phonology advantage when they learn a foreign language when they are between 6 until 8 or lower than 6, but maximum at 8 years old based on this theory. After 8 years old, their first language interference may occur, so it can influence the way they speak, the way they pronounce the words. I will illustrate it later. So implications for teaching English between young and older learners. For young learners, elementaries, for example, this is quite advantage, strong advantage in pronunciations and listening. And as a teacher, you can give early exposure to good English input, giving some inputs, giving English exposure from other sources such as videos or audio and so on so forth. And some effective activities for young learners could be songs, chants, rhymes, repetitions, and so on so forth. But for older learners, the implications is different. It's better learning strategies and meta-linguistic awareness because they can think structurally, logically, and it is a good time for them to learn grammar of the language. And as I said before, the advantage for the older learners is that often faster in learning explicit grammar rules rather than the children, because for children or young learners, uh, this is a good time for them to absorb the language, to be a native like in terms of pronunciations, for example. So I'll give you the illustrations here from young learners, Indonesians, young learners, and also adults. Wait, I will try to set the share sound. Okay, so this is the example of Indonesian children when they are exposed to English during their early activities, early stages of development, compared to the adult, was that exposing to the language.
Wait a second, Mommy.
What's up?
Dolphin can jump very well like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
So kangaroo can jump because kangaroo was so glad. He put her baby in her pouch. He jump, jump, jump. Do you know that chicken was faster than turtle, faster than a human, and faster than a turtle?
I don't know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Ah, perfect. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Ah, perfect, Mommy. Ah, perfect.
Yeah, you can see it's quite, the pronunciations are very good. It's native like pronunciations compared to this one.
Now hush, little baby, don't you cry. Everything is gonna be alright. Stephen did up a little lady. I told you daddy's here to hold you to the night. I know mommy's not here right now, and we don't know why. We feel how we feel inside. It must seem a little crazy, pretty baby, but I promise mama's gonna be alright.
Okay, so it's obvious both of them, yeah, they speak English, but it's different context. The first one is Omar here is during the communications with her mom, with his mom, sorry, and this one is while singing a song. But you can see that um, from this video, there's a first language interference, which is Japanese language. Bahasa Jawanya, medok Jawanya itu influence the language, English language. While Omar here, since he is still young, very young, he is exposed to, for example, I think it is from the YouTube video or from some learning videos given by his mom. in English. I'm sure it is in English, and also his mom also talk in English while communicating with Omar. So there is no first language interference, and it becomes easy for him to speak like a native. Because I said before, this is a phonology advantage. The pronunciations from age 6 until 8, or maybe lower than this age, it can give the students, or it can give learners some advantages, which is native-like fluency. Individuals exposed to English before the age of puberty or declared birth have nearly 100% chance of developing an accent and intonations that resemble those of a native speaker. And once this period passes, the mechanism of language acquisition shifts from natural acquisitions to cognitive learning. Jadi berubah ketika udah terlewati periode ini, nanti pembelajarannya lebih ke pembelajaran yang memang disadari dan lebih banyak ke grammar or vocabulary. Okay, that's all. That's an illustration for all class related to what is that? Pronunciations, native-like pronunciations. Okay, so let's move on to this one, learning styles. Yeah. Zulfa or Dwi said before that there are several learning styles. One of them is audio, audiovisual, and so on and so forth. So every student has different preferences in how they process and understand informations. And some learners prefer visual informations. Others learn better through listening, for example, listening to the teacher's explanations, listening to the video, listening to this audio, songs, and so on and so forth. And while some other students prefer hands-on activities. So recognizing those differences help teachers design more engaging learning experiences in the class or in other learning environments. So based on theory, there are VAK theories, visual, auditory, and kinesthetics, which which become these distinctions of the learning styles. The first one is the visual. Visual learners benefits from images, diagrams, videos, learning with the dominant visual learning styles rely heavily on sight to learn, such as reading, watching video, or observe something, some activities. They are good observers and often have strong visual imaginations and understand material better when it is presented in the form of pictures or graphics or videos. The second one is auditory. So auditory learners, on the other hand, learn best through their sense of hearing. They are sensitive to the sounds, and also rhythm. And the last one is kinesthetic. The kinesthetic learners are those who learn through physical actions and direct experience or hands-on experience. And their main characteristic is constant need to move. This is because for them, learning is an active process that involves the whole body. Okay, so they move all the time in the classroom. That's kinesthetic learners. But we need to bear in mind that we can't divide specifically which students who has particular learning styles, because these theories or these learning styles could be there, could be blended in one students, but we can see which one is the more dominant learning styles in the students. And how to accommodate diverse learning activities or learning styles in the classroom. The first one is the importance of differentiated instructions. We need to recognize and values of our learners' needs in the classroom. Even though it is difficult, but we try to assess or accommodate those needs. And then we need also to promote higher learning and opportunities for them. And we adjust instructions to meet the unique students' needs. And we need to tailor methods for diverse linguistic or cognitive needs. The second point is addressing various student needs. Yeah, we know that every student is unique, so uh, they have unique academic needs. Their background are also various in terms of experience, culture, and also language differences, maybe. Um, Especially the first language becomes different, and also some personality and also interests are also different. So we need to try to accommodate or address various student needs in the classroom. And we also to create inclusive learning environments. For example, adapting some the contents, um, utilizing flexible grouping, employing ongoing assessment, for example, and then offering multiple demonstrations options, and cultivating diverse learning styles for all of the learning styles in the classroom, spatial, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. In practice, the teacher can provide learning stations in the classroom. For example, learning station 1 is dedicated for visual learners. The materials are delivered into images, videos, or print. The second stations, the learning stations, is for auditory learners, in which the learning materials are delivered to the audio, sounds, songs, chants, and others, rhymes there. And then the third one is for the learning stations for kinesthetic learners. The activities done by um, delivering materials to the hands-on media, hands-on learning media. For example, real object, realia, puppets, plasticine, maybe they can shape something from the plasticines into an objects, for example. Another stories, for example, or blocks, or other things that can be touched and grasped by the students. This one here, learning stations, as I said before, diverse activities on varied zone, and also immersive environments, and also interactive methods for the students in the school. This is practical approaches for diverse learners in the classroom. Visual learning, observe informations by sight, so you need to utilize charts, photos, videos, and graphics. Auditory learning, observe information by sound. You can use lectures. I mean, you can explain something to the students or engage in some discussions with students, and also provide some audios or songs or something delivered in the form of audio to the students. And for the kinesthetic one, in which learning by doing activities, you need to have an active participation with the students, and then give some activities such as in the form of task-based learning or role play simulations, demonstrations, or drama, for example. Now, those activities could improve the learning of the children uh, in the learning environment, especially in the classroom. And one more thing, which is quite important to highlight, is the importance of playful approach to learning. So what is playful approach? Kalau sekarang kan kalau di sekolah tuh ada deep learning ya, salah satunya lah playful atau joyful, gitu ya, yang menyenangkan. Selain dari mindful, kemudian salah satunya memang joyful atau playful approach to learning. So play is not merely an activity to fill spare time, but rather than primary means for learning about the world, solving problems, and developing social and emotional skills. So this is the essence of play for children. And in terms of psychological benefits and motivations, play creates a natural, meaningful, and highly motivating context for children to use language, and can naturally reduce language anxiety, because as I said before, there is affective filters in which the students can be anxious during the learning because they are pressured or stressful or something like burdened, having some burdens while learning the language. So it becomes psychologically, what is that, affected by the students. And the next one is accommodating learning styles because it is multimodal. So using play or games are inherently multimodal. Games are inherently multimodal and can accommodate various learning styles simultaneously, which covers visual, auditory, and kinesthetics. All of them are accommodated during the play. And in terms of the what is mentioned by Vygotsky, social interactive atau apa social constructivism ya yang ZPD. Games provide rich social context for authentic communications, where students learn to use language as a tool to achieve goals, not just as an object of study. So those activities or those theories, starting from the learning development from Piaget, uh, and then Vygotsky, Stephen Krashen, Howard Gardner, are accommodated by the play activities or games activities in the classroom. So what's the role of teachers? The role of the teachers in the playful approach or play activity or joyful activity in the classroom is as a facilitators. So the teachers act as facilitators who prepare games, explain the rules, monitor language use, and provide assistance when needed. Because they're still in the zone of proximal development, there is scaffolding in the process of the learning language between the assistance from adult, and it is gradually eliminated by the teachers when the students can do something independently. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentations. And if you really want to have my ebook related to pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di sekolah dasar, this is a free ebook for you. You can scan this QR code and enjoy reading the materials. Itu semacam buku ajar ya, buku ajar yang saya buat untuk mahasiswa saya di mata kuliah pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di SD. Di sana there are some activities in that books. You can try to answer or fulfill that activities, some case studies, and also, of course, some explanations related to learning English in elementary school, or especially for young learners in general. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
All right, thank you very much for the comprehensive explanation, especially about the theories of learning development, yeah. And I think you guys, you are really beruntung ya, so that today you can see with Dr. Erwin here that have already explained much more lagi lebih tumpah-tumpah ya materinya ya. And especially he have already explained about the series of learning development according to Vygotsky, Piaget, and Gardner, and so on. And he also already explained about the literacy development that you have to consider everyone before you teach young learners. Yeah. So Dr. Erwin, they are my students here are going to practice to have micro teaching for the next week so that they should recognize of this theory study mulai dari effective teaching strategy juga sudah dikasih tahu teman-teman tadi ya, and then about the roles of brain in second language acquisition, and also about the learning style and how we give the practice approaches, yeah, especially when the learners are given, yeah, of course, here everyone, so that if you are going to ask questions, perhaps here you may ask Dr. Edwin directly by raising your hand, everyone. Ada yang mau bertanya? Silakan. Langsung saja. Halo, langsung aja. Teman-teman ada yang mau bertanya di sini? Halo. Apakah sudah jelas semuanya? Berarti tadi ya. Atau ada mungkin yang masih serius, Dewan, tentang apa nih? Tentang gimana tadi mengajar yang udah semuanya sih ya. Barangkali teman-teman di sini ada yang pengen kepo tadi tentang apa yang sudah disampaikan, ingin tahu lebih dalam. Devita mungkin biasanya tanya di kelas atau Shemnya atau siapa lagi di sini yang sering tanya nih biasanya. Ayo. Ya,
Silakan, feel free to,
Zulfa.
to ask questions. Oke, Zulfa. Zulfa or Dwi ini? Ada dua dan ya.
Is Dwi
Bulan.
Oh, Dwi Bulan. Oke.
So I will ask about what are some maybe tips for creating learning media that can improve students' reading skill, especially for young learners, and to keep them engaged and help them to understand the text better, sir.
Okay, learning media for reading activities for young learners. Okay, if we take a look at the, should I answer directly or gimana nih, Mrs. Desi?
Ya,
Langsung aja?
langsung aja.
Oke, langsung aja. Nah, if we talk about young learners, we can divide them into 3 categories. The first one is early young learners, which ranges from 3 years old until 6 years old. Itu berarti PAUD ya, TK atau PAUD. And then young learners, the second category is young learners, middle in the middle, ranges from 7 until 9 years old. Kalau di SD berarti fase A, fase B lah ya, atau kelas rendah kalau misalkan di istilahnya ya. And then late young learners itu sekitar usia 10 sampai 12 atau kelas atas. Nah, for reading activities, during the early young learners, it is not introduced that you can give the students the early young learner students yang TK atau PAUD itu misalkan terkait symbols and then pictures and so on so forth. But for the second stage, for early young learners, for young learners, you can give them activities in the form of reading from, what is that? Wait a second. I'm going to share with you the materials because this is related to the things that I have taught in my class. Nah, there is one for young learners, and late young learners. So each categories, in terms of reading activities, require different treatment or different types. For young learners, or very young learners, in terms of reading, there is no reading and writing, but you may introduce the reading and writing activities using the activities such as recognizing letters or short words. But for young learners in the second category, this is a new activities and reading and writing, especially in reading, starting from the word to sentence level. And for late young learners, they learn all skills. So you can introduce them with some reading text, some reading activities. And what can you do as a treatment to support those activities, especially for late young learners? You can use a technique such as reading aloud together, for example, and having some activities like creating stories together. This is good for the students. Let me share with you another one. So this can be done in the classroom, the activities of reading. We can read a story from a book. This is the usual activities, I guess, because we can provide some books from other sources and then ask the students to read in the classroom. Or you can do a reading a class study, meaning that the every student create a story based on their activities. For example, using a recount text about Sunday's activities or uh, Sunday's activities, for example, what the students do during Sunday morning, for example. Every students create a story orally, and then the teachers read or not read, but read aloud or retell the story one by one and write it in the whiteboard or in the board in the classroom or in other media in the books or in their laptop and so on and so forth, projected into projectors or TV in the classroom. And this one is also can be done in the classroom reading text based on the child's language activities. This could be different from this one, but it's slightly different, especially in terms of the language created by the students. You can also use reading familiar nursery rhymes or songs. So reading is not only reading a text, singing a song or reading a lyric or singing by reading the lyrics could be the activities of reading activities. And the last one is different reading materials. So you can ask students to read different texts, different short texts, and ask them to retell the story or the text from what they read in the classroom. So which method to choose? Hmm. We need to highlight, we need to discuss about the age of the students, the categories of the students. From 5 to 7, students are likely to take longer to learn to read in foreign language. And some of them need to go through the process of doing reading like activities. From 5 to 7, it's quite different for them. So visual clues is vital in to the meaning. So clue here is a scaffolding. It's the types of scaffolding given by the teachers to help the students to understand the language. And from 8 to 10 years old, students will already be able to read a bit in their own language. So give some reading materials which focus on the content. But yeah, this is another context. Children with non-Roman alphabet will still have spend more time on mechanism of reading. But for all of us as a nation, as Indonesian people, we have similarity with English because the words is alphabet. Sama kan ya alfabet tulisannya bahasa Inggris ataupun bahasa Indonesia. Beda kalau misalkan seperti orang Thailand, Vietnam. Vietnam masih mirip-mirip di Thailand ataupun India ataupun China dan Jepang, Korea. Itu mereka eh, masih punya kesulitan untuk memahami ini. Non-Roman alphabet, we still have to spend more time on mechanics of reading. So what I can share with you related to how to provide learning media for teaching reading, you need to situate or contextualize it into the students' previous knowledge and also the level or the categories of children. And we still also can give some, scaffolding assistance for them to gain understanding from the language that they learn during the classroom activities. Is that clear, Dwi?
Sorry.
Yes, clear, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Erin. And is there any question, everyone? Any other question? Ya, silakan Sonia.
Tanya.
Okay, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask. I want to ask a maybe simple question for you. As a future English teacher, what should we pay attention to when we designing a learning objective for the young learner? Best.
Sorry, I can't grasp your questions, but if I can conclude about the questions you asked about as a future teacher, what can we do to decide or to design learning objective for children? Is that right?
Yes. Yes. All right.
Okay. Learning objectives is derived from the curriculum itself. If you situate into curriculum Merdeka, we have several what is that? Several terms starting from capaian pembelajaran, and then apalagi tadi tuh ATP dan segala macamnya dan semisalnya dan lain-lain sebagainya. So the things that we need to do when lesson planning, especially, is about this one, and it is mentioned by Chenye. This is the things that we need to ponder when we want to plan a lesson, especially the objective. Who am I teaching? Siapa yang saya ajarkan? Gitu ya. Saya ajar levelnya seperti apa? What level I teach? In terms of the age, in terms of the distinctions of the comprehensions, for example, and so on and so forth. And what am I teaching? Apa yang saya akan ajarkan? Atau yang saya ajarkan itu apa? Materinya, kontennya, materials. Is that skills? Listening, speaking, reading, or writing? Or is that components of the language, such as grammar, structure, or something like vocabularies? We need to think about uh, the materials that we are going to teach. And then how will I teach it? Bagaimana mengajarkannya? And this deals with the approach, the method, the strategies, or the techniques that we will use in the classroom. There's a long discussions about this one, but I guess you can use the technique which is suitable for your children in the classroom based on the learning styles. As I said before, the VAK learning styles could be accommodated well during the active learning activities in the classroom in the form of role play, playful activities, game-based learning, and so on and so forth. And the last one is, do students understand my teaching or the activities? And in terms of the objectives, this is the things that we need to plan. And the objective itself should be, if you want to use the model of ABCD, this is quite simple. ABCD, audience, behavior, conditions, and degree. You need to put all of the aspects, all of the components in your learning objectives. For example, here, after this segment, participants will be able to write clear learning objectives using the ABCD method. Those aspects are included in these objectives. A, audiensnya mana? Participants. B, behaviornya apa? Bisa menulis ya. And then conditionnya seperti apa? Conditions is like the activities done by the teachers or the method proposed by the teachers. And then degree is like an adverb of manner, adverb of quantity, develop quality, and so on and so forth. And those objectives should follow SMART model. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific, it should be specific, one objective for one activities or for one specific activities. And then measurable, it could be measured, it could be observed, it could be seen in the activities in the classroom. And then achievable, you need to make sure that this objective is achievable for your students with the level of the students in terms of their cognitive level and also their age. The next one is relevant. The objective that you create should be relevant to the curriculum and also to the materials that you are going to teach. And the second one is time bound, the time bound time limit for your students to achieve those objectives. And in general, if you really want to create a good objective, you need to make sure that you have some information about the student needs. Because if we want to set the objectives higher than the existing knowledge of the children, we need to have some information about the existing knowledge. So it is from the needs analysis. It's quite technical, ya, lumayan technical. Kalau ditanya terkait dengan apa tadi tuh, gimana objektif yang bagus atau seperti apa buat anak belajar bahasa Inggris, itu lihat dulu terkait dengan apa namanya needs-nya dulu, existing knowledge-nya dulu. Because based on Stephen Krashen's hypothesis, second language hypothesis, we need to give students comprehensible input. I+1 itu kan berarti input yang kita berikan tuh harus slightly beyond their existing level. Itu juga menentukan terkait dengan objektif yang akan kita buat. So we need to understand the needs, the comprehensions, the level, the existing level of the students, of our students, before we set the objectives.
All right. Yeah.
Takutnya apa? Terlalu susah atau bisa juga terlalu mudah. Kalau misalnya terlalu susah, it is not achievable. Kalau terlalu mudah, nanti siswanya bisa bosan ya. Kan ada kadang, kalau mungkin kalian juga pernah merasakan ini mah yang seperti ini udah bisa, udah mudah banget diajarin, jadinya bosan di kelas atau bisa apatis dan kurang engaging pembelajaran di kelasnya atau di
All right.
pelajaran.
Yeah. All right. It's really interesting ya, teman-teman. I think since the time is limited, we only have limited time, and it's for about 1 minute left to have this class, and there will be another class for beberapa kalian masih ada kelas ya di sini ya. Iya ya, oke. Iya. So I think it is enough everyone ya. For the question and answer session tadi, and also for the comprehensive explanation from Pak Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra. And for your information, everyone, Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra ini nggak hanya ngajar di UPI ya, ternyata ini ngajar di ini juga Poltekkes Kemnes Tasikmalaya ya, dan juga Universitas Bakti Tunas Husada, everyone. So thank you very much, Dr. Erwin Rahayu Saputra, for your sharing, for your knowledge here, so that our students here, yeah, all of the students here have already recognize the theories, yeah, especially about learning development before they are going to teach or to practice, yeah, micro teaching for the next week. And also perhaps some of them are going to be a teacher in elementary school. Yeah, we hope so. So that we believe that these materials will be beneficial for the students here. Thank you very much, Dr. Erwin.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I also attach the link of ebook if
Yeah,
you
thank
miss
you.
the
Thank you
QR
for
code,
your
so you
gift.
can
Thank you for your
read
gift.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
And see
So,
you next time.
yeah. All right. So,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh. Have a
warahmatullahi
nice day,
wabarakatuh. Thank
Ramadan
you.
Kareem.
So that's all everyone for
Thank
this
you,
class
Sila.
today. Yeah, I will close this Zoom and see you on the next meeting. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi
Thank
wabarakatuh.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.